Welcome to JW Highlights. My name is Vern, and today we will be talking about solar energy. So for many of you, you know that's kind of my passion. In fact, I have another YouTube channel called XJW Unplugged. So I'll put that down in the description if you want to check it out. But I've been doing solar since 2016. I left the Jehovah's Witness religion in 2012, and I kind of immersed myself into other things to keep my mind busy, and that worked for a number of years until I ended up here. But today we're talking about solar energy, and when I look at the thumbnail, the watchtower goes green. Is the watchtower really going green? Well, we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to at least give you the other side of the story. Now, before we get into it, I think we should take a look at what's on my screen. I'm looking at jw.org, and this is Ramapo. This is a big award they won, and you know how JW.org is. They like to advertise all these awards. Well, here it is. The New York State Energy Research and Development Authority awarded Jehovah's Witnesses a grant of $1 million US as part of a Building of Excellence competition. Now, when we think of competitions, you know, we weren't allowed as children or to send our kids out in a competition at school. They couldn't do competitions. We couldn't join competitions, but the Watchtower is allowed to get into competitions. So here they got into a solar competition, and actually if you look at the Building of Excellence competition, there was a whole pile of people that were awarded this. So it was a grab for big companies to start going green. And so the U.S. put out some money to help them do that. So Jehovah's Witnesses make a big deal about it, but they don't mention all the other people that won awards. So that's what's kind of interesting about Jehovah's Witnesses. It's all about I, it's all about me, it's all about number one. I'm a Jehovah's Witness. So anyways, today we're not talking about Ramapo, but we are going all the way to Sri Lanka. Do you know where Sri Lanka is? Well, let's take a look at the map. I'm going to get off the screen because I'm in the way. And we'll take a look at Sri Lanka. We're going to zoom right in here on the screen. What am I doing here? There we go. So it's this little island right here. You see where my cursor is? Right under India, this little island. It's actually quite a big place. And this is Sri Lanka. Now, they're having issues right in Colombo. Colombo. Did I say that right? Colombo. Now, this country was actually just became independent from the British in 1948. So there's a lot of English speaking on this island, and of course the Watchtower. You know, they've been established there for a number of years. Let's just take a look at what this island looks like. Here we go. I'm gonna blow this up if I can, or can I? Yeah. So I don't want that. No, I don't want any of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get down to the photos here, and we're going to go through some of the photos. So here's the photos. I went through them earlier. Beautiful place. There's a lot of tourism in Sri Lanka. It makes a lot of its money out of textiles, and it does a lot of trading. Its number one trading partner is the U.S. Canada's like down there at number 10 or something, number 9. But again, it was a British colony, and here's a little bit of what the town's like. So that gives you a little idea what the place is like. So we're going to get out of here. So now, getting into Sri Lanka, there's a huge problem right now, and as you can see here, all these people are pushing they have these three-wheeled little carts, and I think they're run on diesel fuel. They're quite efficient, but they're all pushing them. And there's a big problem in Sri Lanka right now. They can't buy their fuel. So, it's a fuel crisis in June here, just recently. So what it is they're waiting for over 14 hours in lineups to get fuel. And everyone's really thinking about what are we going to do? And they're looking at the governments, and so it's a big mess there. Now they are making a lot of their electricity off hydroelectricity, but they are making some off probably fossil fuels. Now, I went to the Watchtower just to see what they say about Sri Lanka. Well, they say through the eyes of a tourist. We kind of looked at that, and then the Sri Lankan news. So I pulled that one up, and then they they host their first convention, rejoicing at the harvest in India. And then there was some flooding. They provided some assistance to some flooding in 2004. There was a tsunami. So now the JW News today is in Sri Lanka. There's about 7,000 Jehovah's Witnesses in the country. About 100 congregations. The attendance at the annual memorial of Christ's death is 16,000. The ratio of Jehovah's Witnesses to population is 1 to about 3,000. And the population of Sri Lanka is about half of Canada, maybe more or less, 22 million. So for a small country, that's a lot of people. And the Watchtower has been in there for 75 years. In fact, Stephen Lett went down there and gave a big talk and released the new Bible. There he is, Stephen Lett, and down in Sri Lanka. Now, the people in Sri Lanka are very meek, very passive people. Probably Russell or his father went there. The textiles, they were trading in textiles, bringing them over to the U.S. So Sri Lanka's been on the map for a lot of years, especially with the British in there, and it became a big trading country. Now here's what's happening recently. And again, this news, I should really tell you where I got it, watching the Watchtower. So thanks to watching the Watchtower for delivering this news. Now, Hayleys Solar partners with Watchtower to construct a 2 megawatt battery backup system. So here we got it. The Watchtower, again, shaking hands, and it's like they're getting their project turned over to them. That's like a project book, right? So on May 18th, 2023, Hayleys Solar, the renewable energy arm of Hayleys Fentons, partnered with Watchtower to construct a 2 megawatt battery backup system powered by solar PV, designed to provide energy independence, offering up to 3 days of uninterrupted power. Now that's a really expensive system, 2 megawatts, 2 million watts, 2 megawatts. Now a watt of energy is about $1. That's $2 million to buy that. So I was looking at their prices. It's a little over $1. If you're putting it on your house, it's going to be about $1.40, and then if you get their national grant, pulls it down to about $1.20, $1.19 a watt to buy solar in this country. Now you can buy wholesale solar about 50-60 cents a watt in the U.S. So that just goes to show what happens when you live in a country you have to ship everything in, and things get expensive. So $2 million is what's roughly what the Watchtower is going to put out here, or has put out. It says this is a landmark project. It marks a significant milestone for the renewable energy sector in Sri Lanka and reinforces the nation's commitment in transitioning to cleaner and more sustainable energy sources. The project will be executed in 2 phases, with the first phase already underway. And this initial phase focuses on installing hybrid systems at 17 places of worship of Jehovah's Witnesses in Sri Lanka, scheduled for completion by the end of September of this year, 2023. Now, if you don't know what a hybrid system is, a hybrid solar system, there's several types. There's off-grid, there's grid tie, and there's hybrid. Hybrid is the best, it's the most expensive. And what it does is it has the ability to gather up energy, charge its battery bank. They'll probably use lithium battery banks. And they schedule this to actually run the facility. Let's say there was a disaster, to run it for 3 days. So they have quite a substantial battery bank backup system. And now solar is pretty amazing stuff. You know, we've been using it for decades and decades in the space system. There's satellites out there from when they first launched them, still working on solar. Solar is really amazing stuff. So once you get it installed, it just keeps on making energy. Even if the clouds are overcast, it will still make energy, not as much. Now, the solar, with the hybrid system, when your batteries are charged up and you're supplying your facility power, in the sun, there's a lot of additional power that you're going to waste. So what a hybrid system does is it sells the additional power back to the grid. And therefore, at nighttime, or if your batteries are down or something goes on and you have to buy power from the grid, you're actually exchanging it for the power that you sold to them. So that's what we do here in Canada. That's what's happening all over the world. So yes, they're doing 17 selected places of worship in Sri Lanka scheduled for completion by the end of September. Now, the second phase of construction of the battery backup system commenced in the third week of June at Watala headquarters of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Lanka, a non-profit organization which supports the administration of Jehovah's Witnesses in Sri Lanka. Now, it goes on to say that the Watchtower is so happy with the collaboration with Hayleys Solar, stating, "We are grateful to be working and collaborating with Hayleys Solar on the next phase of this project as well, which is a milestone for the country and the environment." Now, probably there's a lot of English-speaking people. Probably the headquarters sent down some English electricians, brothers that know solar, that are certified to help manage the project. And probably they're training a lot of the brothers and sisters. And that's what happens. The brothers and sisters of the Jehovah's Witnesses, they volunteer their labor at special projects. It's run usually through an RBC. And qualified brothers, electricians, would go perhaps have the opportunity to fly in. And what I used to do is I used to fly in. We flew into Antigua, made it a holiday. I brought my family in. And we didn't stay at the Bethel. We stayed down in the hotel area. And we went up to the Bethel and did the work. Now, I bet you a lot of brothers are going to do that and help out on the project, because that's just how the organization works. And they get a lot of free labor from brothers. And then brothers count it as a holiday. They count it as a prestige thing. They come back to their home congregations. Ooh, I did some of this special work and I went down here, and it's bragging rights, right? And that's kind of what it's about in the organization, because you don't get paid, you don't get anything else. The only thing you get is bragging rights. And when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I played that game too. So I'm not innocent of that whole game they play. So it's bragging rights. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses like. We look at us. We've done solar. We're going green. However they want to pitch this, right? Now, it goes on to talk about the partnership with the Watchtower is one example of our collaborative efforts with the organizations and individuals to embrace renewable energy in the country. And with its remarkable scale, this landmark project will enable the integration of more renewable energy sources into the nation's grid, reducing reliance on traditional fossil fuel-based power generation, leading to a more sustainable and environmentally friendly energy mix. And I agree with all of that 100%. The part that, let's finish it. It says, this agreement highlights the confidence that the international organizations have in our expertise in designing and implementing large-scale renewable energy projects. The project sets a precedent for renewable energy adoption, showcases environmental stewardship, and contributes to Sri Lanka's clean energy transition. So all of that I agree with. Now, what I find with the Watchtower, though, is let's see if the Watchtower makes this a big deal like they did Ramapo. So we kind of got a little bit of jump on this thanks to watching Watchtower, who alerts us on all of these things, all these news items. Now, moving over to Hayleys. I did a little research on Hayleys Solar. Big company. They're the #1 solar company in Sri Lanka. Coca-Cola uses them. There's a lot of big projects, big companies. Now, if you're in a country where the power is off for 14 hours and on and you're having all these hiccups, if you're Coca-Cola, that would interrupt your bottling business. So you're going to put solar on because you got to stay in business. You want to stay in business 24 hours a day. And so, of course, you want to contribute to green energy, and you're going to look good, and you're going to take advantage of any of the programs out there. Now, in Sri Lanka, there is a lot of programs, solar programs, and the government is helping. So, and they're getting more people involved in Sri Lanka. So, some of the products that Hayleys uses is the same products that we use here in Canada, SMA, Fronius, Canadian Solar, Longi Solar. These are all products that we use here, and they're building good solar. This stuff is all over the earth. It's becoming commonplace instead of fossil fuel. So it's not really a big deal. It's nothing to have bragging rights on. In fact, if you look at this country, most everyone is putting solar in on their housetops. A lot of people are. So this is an article talking about solar power from the rooftops in Sri Lanka. Rooftops across Sri Lanka are harnessing solar power that is contributing to the country's clean energy mix and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So they're just talking about how they're getting solar out there, how there's government grants like in all the other countries, and they're helping to finance solar. So probably, or maybe the Watchtower took advantage of these, just like the competition in Pennsylvania at Ramapo. They got $1 million. So I'm sure they got $1 million or something out of this stuff. We don't know the whole story yet, but I did email the company and I asked for more details. So you never know. Sometimes they will reply. So I want to end up here, and I want to really show you that when we think of Revelation 11:18, where it says God will bring to ruin those ruining the earth, the Watchtower isn't doing anything here but business. And if you think of it this way, they're putting in solar systems to keep their kingdom halls running, and they're putting in hybrid battery backup systems. So if you lived in this country and the power is out for 14 hours and it's sweating hot and there's air conditioning down at the kingdom hall and power, and you can update your email maybe, they probably have internet, you're going to the kingdom hall. Yeah, you're going there. You might not be going there for the information, but you're going there because it's cool. The people are nice. Jehovah's Witness people are always kind and friendly if you go to the meeting, and you might even put 10 cents into the contribution box, just so someone sees you walking up there. Maybe it's a penny. I don't know. It's a poor country. This country the average person only makes about $3,800 a year US. That's what they make. Now, in the standards of these countries, this is one of the wealthier countries. It's wealthier than the Philippines. It's wealthier than India. But now they're really seeing a crunch in this country with this power problem. So here's what's happening. I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna get my face out of here, and I'm gonna let you guys listen to this news broadcast here.
Motorists hoping to top up on fuel amid a nationwide shortage and looming power outages. The Public Utilities Commission announced a 4-hour and 40-minute power cut due to waning diesel supplies, sparking long lines at petrol stations in various cities.
It's not only fuel, people don't have enough to eat. How long will it last? How long do we have to waste our time in queues? People must understand who is responsible for these issues, and at the next elections they must use their brains to pick the right politicians for the job.
Electricity is being switched off on a rotating basis between regions. It follows 2-hour outages on Monday and Tuesday and several power failures over the past few weeks.
We are getting hit from two sides. On one side, lack of hydropower, and on the other, oil prices are going up in the global market. Due to these two reasons, the petroleum sector and the electricity sector are under tremendous pressure.
And a lot of this is due to the impacts of the pandemic. The COVID crisis and loss of tourism has contributed to Sri Lanka's dire financial situation, compounded by high government spending and tax cuts, huge debt repayments to China, and foreign exchange reserves at their lowest levels in a decade. It's reached a stage where the tiny island nation reportedly does not have enough to pay for 2 shipments of fuel, which arrived at Colombo port earlier this week. cabinet ministers are meeting to discuss how to come up with the funds, but say even with the shipment, Sri Lanka would only have diesel for 6 days. Meanwhile, citizens are suffering, with inflation at a record high and residents unable to afford to feed their families. Around 500,000 people have fallen below the poverty line since the start of the pandemic. Yvonne Yong, ABC News.
Okay, so that's the end of that article. So as you can see, there's a lot going on in Sri Lanka when it comes to the energy crisis, how COVID affected the economy, shut down tourism. This country, as we've seen from some of the pictures, a very beautiful country to see and relying heavily upon tourism. Now the Watchtower relies on tourism. People travel all over the world, and Jehovah's Witnesses do too, and they tour and they visit the Watchtower Bethels. And I was just looking at the Watchtower in their Bethel in Sri Lanka, and some of the pictures there. So yes, they are going to run the Bethel on batteries. So if you're a tourist and you go there, there's air conditioning at the Bethel. The power is always on. Guess what? It's an excellent publicity campaign. It pulls people in, and for the Watchtower doing this, it's really good for business. Just like for Coca-Cola, they want to keep their business running 24 hours a day. Now, when people come into the Bethels, they donate a lot. Americans, Canadians, they go down to these countries and they're thinking nothing of donating in our dollar, which is a huge amount of money in their dollar. So it's nothing for a Canadian to go down there and throw $100 US into the contribution box at Bethel and do the tour, and that's what a lot of the tourists do. So if you're running Bethel, that's a big amount of money that's coming in. You're going to keep your Bethel running. The solar makes sense. It's good for business. So if Jehovah's Witness organization was in fact a green organization, they would be pushing solar on all the kingdom halls around the world. They would also be involved in planting trees. Every year they'd have an annual tree planting thing all over the world to supplement all the magazines and paper products that this religion has destroyed over the past 150 years. But they don't have that. You see, Jehovah's Witness organization is like any other business on earth, like Coca-Cola. They're going to do what's necessary to keep their business running and optimize it in whatever land they are in. And that's just the name of the game. At least that's my supposition. So there you have it. You have the rest of the story. So folks, if you're thinking of going green and you want to put solar on your roof, I think it's a good thing. But do it because you want to be prepared, or be prepared for the power going out. We don't need any trophy or any glory for putting a solar panel on our roof. We don't need that. But what we want to do is be prepared. We know that we're in a time of life on this earth when things are changing. Fossil fuels are changing. Solar energy, it's free energy from the sun. It's becoming more available. More people are learning about it. Heck, you can go down to Canadian Tire and buy a 12-volt solar panel and a battery and an inverter, and you can run your laptop off the sun if the power goes out. It's really that easy. But anyways, folks, I'm not here to give a lesson. I'm just here to give you the rest of the story on the Watchtower. So until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.